Hello. Okay, X-Men Apocalypse. Again, directed by Bryan Singer, and I don't quite get the negative reaction that this has had from critics because overall, I really enjoyed this film. This was a very enjoyable movie. And while I sat there and I watched it, I read a couple of the reviews before going in, and I just couldn't quite get what a lot of people had said about this film because I thought it wasn't a perfect film, and I don't think I'd go as far as saying it was a great film, but it was okay. It was good. I enjoyed it. It was I don't think it's nowhere near as bad as a lot of critics are making this out to be. So yeah, this is a spoiler-free review, so I'm not going to give anything away about the actual story itself, but the story is pretty much basic, and I think when you go into a film knowing that the main bad guy is Apocalypse, then it's pretty obvious what that kind of goal of this character is going to be, and I think as a result of all these other storylines interweaving between this main storyline, it kind of just, you'd forget about it, to be honest. I did anyway, I forgot about Apocalypse and his agenda throughout this film, mainly because I was more interested in what Magneto was doing and Charles was doing. I was more invested in that kind of side of the story. Saying that, like I said, this was very enjoyable, but again, I'm going to kind of draw a comparison to Batman v Superman, and this just had so much in it that its foundations were basically creaking. I mean, I think they just about managed to kind of make some sort of coherent structure to the kind of flow to the narrative, you could say, because there was just so much going on, and it kept taking away from the main kind of storyline. But in a way, I liked that because I was more interested and more invested in what was going on. And Magneto, again played by Michael Fassbender in this film, did a great job again. And there's a moment, I'd say, I think it's the first hour of the film, and there's a scene with Magneto, and I'm not going to give away too much about this scene, but it was so tense and emotional. It reminded me of moments in First Class, and which is a good thing for me because I absolutely adore First Class, and still to this day, X-Men First Class is my favourite X-Men movie. I absolutely love that film, and it had so much emotion in it, and Bryan Singer managed to capture a lot of that in this film, especially the early scenes with Magneto, and it kind of just left me wishing that the film was more like that, to be honest with you. I wish it focused more on the Magneto and his struggle, and it kind of teased you with it, you could say, as it did with a lot of other kind of side stories that were going on in this film. They were teasing you with these kind of subplots, and then all of a sudden you'd swish back to the main storyline again, and I felt like, I was like, no, I want to kind of stay with those. I want to stay with Magneto. But yeah, the performance from all the actors in this film was pretty okay. They were all good. James McAvoy, I think, was probably the standout to this film as Charles Xavier. He gave a very good performance, a very powerful performance. Michael Fassbender, again, he was really good, and for me, he's been one of the best things about these new kind of, you could say, rebooted films. But I do fancy he looked bored towards the end of this film, and I think it's mainly because his character not so much lost direction, but didn't really have anything to do anymore, because they were, again, like, as I said, they seemed to be taken away. They had so many stories going on, but they kept going back to this main story, which just was not as interesting, to be honest with you. And then, well, not so much interesting, I suppose, but in comparison to what was going on, it was not that interesting. But like I said, I did enjoy it. And Jennifer Lawrence as Raven Mystique, she was very good again, and Oscar Isaac as Apocolypse, I really liked his performance, and like, I'm not that, when it comes to the comic book side of these characters, I'm not that familiar. I've grown up watching the films, so when I couldn't really draw on any comparisons, to be honest with you, but I did, and I liked the design of Apocolypse in the film. I know a lot of people were drawing comparisons to Ivan Ooze from the Power Rangers movie, but I did kind of like it. I liked his suit. I liked the design of the suit, and probably the makeup to a certain point. I don't exactly know what they were trying to do with the forehead, to be honest with you. But pretty much everything else I kind of liked, and I liked what Oscar Isaac did with the character. And another highlight in this film is the character Jean Grey, played by Sophie Turner. You'd know her from the Game of Thrones TV show, and she's very good in this film. And she, again, I'm not going to give too much away, but she has a lot to do, you could say, and it was quite cool. I liked what they gave her to do. And I have to mention the Quicksilver scene in this film is absolutely amazing. If you thought the one in the Days of Future Past was when they're in the bunker, this tops that. It's very, very funny. And the music, they got that soundtrack spot on. And it was a very, very good moment in the film. A very funny moment in the film. This film is it's made up of very, very good moments, and I think that's why I ended up really, really enjoying it. And one of the things I really like about the X-Men movies is this theme of acceptance and people kind of fighting for their human rights, basically, and or their rights in general. And I've always liked that about the X-Men films, and I've always been able to relate to that. And I fancy this one was more of a straight up sort of kind of an action-y B-movie, you could say, and I enjoyed it. It reminded me like of the 90s Roland Emmerich kind of movies, and especially the beginning, especially the first I'd say 10 minutes, where it's kind of setting up the character Apocolypse in I'm guessing it's somewhere like Egypt, and that was a very, very good, exciting scene. I think some of the CGI is a little bit ropey in your mind. There were certain moments where it looked, the CGI looked a bit questionable. But overall, a very enjoyable movie. And like I said, I don't quite get where the negative reaction is coming from. It had a lot of good moments in it. The soundtrack, again by John Ottman. And I really liked the soundtrack as well. There was a lot of like kind of choir going on, orchestra, almost like an end of the world sort of kind of vibe with the music, and I really liked that. The script in places, I think the script in places made me kind of cringe, and the script in some places was very, very good, but then there were other places. There's a moment with Charles and Apocolypse, and I'm not going to give away what that moment is, but there's a line that they say, and I'm thinking, I was kind of rewriting it in my head, because I thought that's what he was going to say, or that's what he should have said, but he didn't, and the way it came across was just a bit hammy, you could say, a bit cheesy even. But yeah, the script, again, like the CGI was questionable in places, but overall, I really, really enjoyed this movie. I just don't get I get some of the negative criticism about the film, but there seems to be a lot of hate and highly kind of harsh criticism against the film, and I don't get that. I really enjoyed X-Men Apocolypse. I think out of the kind of the new rebooted series that was started with Matthew Vaughn with First Class, I do think this is the weakest out of the three. But I did find myself really enjoying it. This was not a terrible film. It was a good film. And I'm going to be giving X-Men Apocalypse a B. Thank you for watching. I'm hoping to have some kind of trailer review videos up in the next couple of days. That's kind of like new territory for me. I haven't done that yet, so I'm looking forward to doing that. So yeah, I'll see you soon.